Welcome to another sharing of my True Happiness teachings, your opportunity to go deeper into the truth that will help you claim life's greatest treasure.
Welcome to the Forever Free from Negativity Masterclass. I'm thrilled that you found your way here, however you found your way here. When I was younger, I wished I had a magic button that I could push to change how I was feeling when life got tough. Here's what I struggled with every day. See if you can relate. I was humming along. Everything was going fine in my life. And then suddenly, something would happen. Life would throw me an unexpected curveball. And boom, I'd suddenly start feeling anxiety, anger, fear, frustration, or some other negativity. That's what happened to me all the time. Sound familiar? Does life throw you lots of curveballs to trigger negativity in you like that over and over and over? That's when I wanted the magic button, so that when this happened, that would happen. Most people I talk to, they just suffer through those moments of negativity, thinking there's nothing they can do to change things. That's just the way life is, they think. After all, I'm only human. What if I told you suffering is not a necessary part of life? That you could live free of emotional pain and suffering without needing to use tools, techniques, repetitive practices, therapy, meditation, or medication. If you believe that's impossible and you prefer to be miserable for the rest of your life, then stop watching this training right now. But if you're still here, this masterclass will change your life in ways nothing else can. I'm Robert Scheinfeld, your host for this masterclass. In case you don't know me, I'm a New York Times bestselling author, Inc. 500 entrepreneur, personal development renegade, speaker, and coach. I've helped thousands of people worldwide become what I call emotionally bulletproof and liberated from negativity, which I'll explain later, unlocking a profound state I call true happiness that I'll explain later too. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to help you too, and I'm glad you're here. What you're about to discover is something I've never seen discussed in any book, any course, any video, or by any coach, expert, or therapist. A magic button, or a magic pill, or a magic technique that can change how you feel might sound great, but it really wouldn't be, as you'll see for yourself later in the masterclass. I discovered something much better than a magic button or a magic pill or a magic technique, and that's what I'll be sharing with you here. I'll be showing you exactly how to become emotionally bulletproof and permanently liberated from negativity.
I just want to be home. Screw this goddamn traffic.
God damn it, shut the fuck up! I'm working in here!
This is a huge opportunity. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up.
In situations like these, and others that you may be experiencing, there's one event, one trigger, one brief moment of unhappiness that rises in response, up, down, gone. If you have brief moments of up, down, gone unhappiness like that, can you live a happy life? Yes, of course, as long as it doesn't happen too much. Sometimes we have brief up, down, gone moments of big unhappiness, total meltdowns, which are a completely different beast, like this.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me! Ah!
Meltdowns like that were always exhausting, and they scared me. Sometimes the brief up, down, gone unhappiness moments get stacked up. I once worked with a guy named Richard Williams who described a really bad week he had like this. I woke up and got in the shower. There was no hot water, and I froze my ass off. Then I was late to work because of crazy traffic. Then I got home to see water all over the kitchen floor because my dishwasher leaked. Then I was tossing and turning all night and slept like crap. The next morning, I got my favorite coffee to go, but when I got to the office and took my first sip, it wasn't what I ordered. That night, my girlfriend stood me up for drinks, and I sat there alone, feeling like a loser and an idiot. On and on all week. Murphy's Law on steroids. When it rains, it pours. We all go through phases like that, right? Unhappiness, up, down, gone. Up, down, gone. Up, down, gone. All day, all week, all month, or longer. I call that swirl. If swirl doesn't happen too much, can you still lead a happy life? Yes, of course. But what if it happens too much? I once went through a period of multiple years with that sort of Murphy's Law swirl happening. I feared it would never end. Looking back, I don't know how I survived without it breaking me.
Mom seemed so healthy and full of life. How could she be dead? He cheated on me. Never in a million years did I imagine he was capable of that.
Sometimes there's just one event, one trigger, but it's a monster, and you feel like shit for a long time. It kind of feels like this. The negativity gets all over everything in your life when that happens, right? So, in life, we experience single, short, up, down, gone unhappiness moments. A lot or a little. Some of them are very intense in the up phase. We experience multiple, short, up, down, gone, stacked moments of unhappiness. A lot or a little. And some of them get very intense too. And we experience long-lasting unhappiness, a lot or a little. Many people, including me when I was younger, don't realize how much unhappiness there is when all these moments get added up. When I was younger, I didn't track how often I was happy compared to how often I was unhappy. It never occurred to me to do that. I never realized how unhappy I was most of the time, until it got so bad, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Have you been tracking how much unhappiness appears in your life? Or have you just been accepting and tolerating it? Many people, including me when I was younger, don't fully realize how much all that unhappiness ripples out to screw up other aspects of our lives. Maybe when you're unhappy, you say and do things that cause problems in your relationships. Or your work suffers because you can't concentrate. Or you make really bad decisions that come back to bite you in the butt. Maybe you're a corporate professional or an executive experiencing high stress. Maybe you're an entrepreneur or a business owner facing the pressures, and there are tons of them, of running and growing a business. Maybe you're a parent or a caregiver juggling the demands of raising children and your other responsibilities. Maybe you're experiencing a major life transition, like a divorce, retirement, or a career change. Maybe you're facing challenges in a romantic relationship. Maybe you fit into more than one of these categories. I certainly did when I was the most unhappy. Or maybe you find yourself in a different category. Whatever it is for you, it sure seems like a magic button that could make the unhappiness go away would be great in those situations, right? But it wouldn't be. Why? Because events that trigger negativity happen so much, you'd need to push it, push it, push it, push it, push it all day, every day in order to try to feel better. So I've got to ask you, is that what you really want?
I don't think so.
So, what do you really want? Not to feel bad at all, right? For the negativity not to rise and get triggered at all, right? Have you noticed that unhappiness seems to be growing all over the world? A 2022 poll by the American Psychological Association found that 87% of people feel like there has been a constant stream of crises without a break over the last 2 years. The poll also found that everything from rising inflation to political issues is stressing people out. Well, what if things could be different for you? What if there's a different way to live? Here are a few more questions that I have for you. Trigger response, trigger response, trigger response. Do the balls have free will? Do they decide or choose how they're going to move? Yes or no? No, right? It's just trigger here, then something mysterious happens here. You don't see anything happening here, right? But something is happening. Then there's the response here. All of that happens lightning fast on autopilot. Isn't that how it works in our lives too? Life happens and boom, we have emotional responses, driven by a mysterious mental process inside us that runs lightning fast on autopilot. It's kind of like we're puppets being pulled around emotionally by strings. So the important thing to see right now is there are 3 parts to how unhappiness appears in your life. Number 1, we have the life event trigger. This is something that you say or do. This is something that someone else says or does. This is something that you see or hear, a life event trigger. Number 2, you have the hidden mental process that starts to run automatically once that trigger has happened. And then number 3, you have your emotional response. These are the 3 things that happen every time you are experiencing an emotion. It starts out with something in your life that triggers it, the hidden mental process starts to run, and 3, you experience an emotion as a result. For example, you're at a restaurant, you place your order, you wait and wait and wait, and your food doesn't come. Then you see another table who came in after you, getting their food before you. That's the trigger. Based on that trigger, the mysterious mental process inside you starts running lightning fast on autopilot. If you're like I used to be, that mysterious process generates an emotional response that you'd call anger, frustration, annoyance, or maybe you'd call it something else. That's just one small example, but it's the same thing with all triggers and all emotional responses, big or small. No one likes feeling like shit. So when the balls hit, when the swirl starts, when big unhappiness locks in for a while, what do? Some people don't do anything. They just suffer. Other people try to change how they feel by using tools, techniques, and repetitive practices. They try to do something like this. This is how they're feeling, and they try to do something to turn this into something else. Some people become workaholics, and they stay so busy they don't notice how bad they're feeling. That was a lot of my story too. Some people take prescription drugs to feel better. You ever notice how in almost every movie and TV show, when somebody has a really bad day or something really difficult happens, they say, "I need a drink." And then they go have one and we see it on the screen. That's how many people try to change how they feel, by drinking alcohol. Other people get high. Some people go shopping. Other people exercise like crazy. Use meditation, breathing, yoga, or other techniques to change how they feel, as I mentioned. All of that is what people do after they start feeling like shit.
But all of those things, they're just Band-Aids, and they cost time, money, and energy without actually solving the big problem.
It's the same with the advice of most experts. They focus on what to do after you're already feeling like shit. They tell us that we must do this, or we must be that, or we must conquer this, or we must let go of that, or we must cope with this, manage, or master that. Have you experienced that a lot? Well, what if none of that is true? What if the way out of suffering, struggle, pain, and unhappiness is something else? If you try to deal with your emotional responses after you're suffering, how can you do anything but fight a losing battle? It's kind of like throwing gasoline on a fire to put it out. Why is it like throwing gasoline on a fire to put it out? Here's why. All right, let's be brutally honest about something now. Can you stop the triggers in life from happening? No. There will always be triggers in your life. That's just how life is. Life is crazy and chaotic and unpredictable, and there's always going to be triggers, and you can't do anything about that, and neither can I or anyone else. Can you choose what your emotional response will be when you get triggered? Nope. The mysterious mental process runs lightning fast on autopilot at the unconscious level and chooses your response. And by the time you notice you're feeling like shit, it's too late. As I shared before, you can try to change how you feel after the negativity is already up, but no one ever wins that war. No one ever wins the war of trying to change how you feel after you're feeling like shit. If you leave things the way they are now, the inevitable triggers in your life will continue to cause the mysterious mental process to generate more and more and more negative emotional responses that you suffer from. I realized finally, after beating my head against a wall for decades, the only way I could end my suffering was to find a way to change how that mysterious mental process inside me worked. Change how the mysterious mental process works, and your emotional response changes too, immediately and automatically. Once that happens, no matter what trigger appears in your life, there's no struggle, suffering, or unhappiness. Once you change how the mysterious mental process works, the change becomes permanent, affecting all your triggers and emotional responses from that point on. Does that make sense to you? I saw that big truth clearly, but I had no idea how to actually change the mysterious mental process, which was very frustrating to be so close and yet still so far away. If there was a way for you to change how your mysterious mental process works so the triggers don't create the response of unhappiness in your life, would you want to know about it? To be clear, I'm not talking about a way to make negativity disappear after it is up, as I've been sharing with you. I'm talking about stopping the negativity from rising at all. I call living that way being emotionally bulletproof. Being emotionally bulletproof does not mean that you go numb and you don't feel anything anymore, by the way. Quite the opposite, really. It means you have lots of feelings, but they don't cause you, none of them cause you to struggle, suffer, or feel unhappy, which I'll talk more about in a minute. What if you didn't need to do anything anymore to change how you feel? Ever? How would that change your life? I'd like to take a few minutes now to go deeper into how I discovered how the mysterious mental process could be changed, so the way it can happen for you too becomes crystal clear and real to you. For me, when I was younger, unhappiness started out small. Just a few balls, a few up-down gons, and a few swirls. But as I got older, there were more and more balls, more and more swirls, until I was miserable most of the time.
All right, I'm up. I don't want to be up, but I'm up.
Along the way, I became an Inc. 500 entrepreneur, a multimillionaire, a New York Times best-selling author, and I was traveling the world speaking and coaching. But none of that made any difference. I was still miserable, and it caused me to waste a huge amount of money trying to escape the pain, to damage my business by trusting the wrong people, and experience trauma in my marriage because I could not say stop or no to unhealthy things that were dragging me down. Short of drugs that I did not want to mess with for whatever reason, I tried everything out there to feel better. Books, coaches, therapy, healings, courses, and a zillion tools and techniques. Too many things to possibly mention here. Now, I'm the kind of guy, I'm very anal about this stuff. So if somebody gives me steps to follow, I follow them to the letter. If someone says I need to touch my head with my right index finger, then turn like this and put my left finger up my nose and lean backwards, I do it. Whatever it is, I follow the instructions to the letter. I'm just like that. So I followed all the instructions. I did all the steps, and I know I did it right. But nothing worked for me, and my suffering continued to grow. I wanted to give up on some level. I desperately wanted to give up. But one day, at my lowest low, absolutely desperate, I went outside, looked up, and said to God, source, creator, whatever you want to call it, there must be a way to end this pain the experts don't know. Please show it to me or get me the hell out of here. Kill me off because I can't live this way anymore. And I really meant it. Every word. I was that low. Nothing happened right away, but 8 months later, something amazing started to move. It began with 3 questions popping into my mind that I'd never asked before. The first question was, what's actually happening inside me when I'm suffering and I feel so bad? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I never had. Nothing even close to it. For the first 48 years of my life, I just thought, or I said out loud, I'm pissed off. I'm nervous. I'm depressed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I feel like shit. But now I wanted to know what that meant. I wanted to know what was actually happening inside me that I was using those words to describe. Let me say that again. I wanted to know what was actually happening inside me that I was using those words to describe. I didn't want to study unhappiness or listen to what scientists or experts said at that point. I wanted to look for myself at what was actually happening inside of me. Does that make sense? So every time I felt like shit, whatever I called it, whatever the words were, I stopped. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. And I asked myself, what's actually going on inside me right now? At first, I didn't notice much. As I continued to look, though, and I looked for a very long time, every time I was suffering, it seemed like what was going on inside of me started to move in slow motion. And I began to see things I'd never seen before. The first thing I saw is that whenever I was unhappy, something mysterious was moving inside me somehow. I began to see that's what emotions are. That's what feelings are. Something mysterious that moves inside of us in unique ways. I call that mysterious movement inside of us pure, raw experience. Fear seems different from anxiety, right? Happiness seems different from sadness, right? All emotional experiences feel and move differently inside us. I just gave you the first building block of what happens to you every day. Again, I call it pure, raw experience. Once I started looking inside, suffering was still happening, and I still felt like shit a lot. But it started to change a tiny bit because now I started to feel like I was a detective solving a mystery, and that was intriguing and fun, so it helped a little bit. The next thing I noticed after looking inside is that right after the pure, raw experience started moving, it somehow got a name. Immediately. I somehow knew instantly I was feeling anxiety. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling frustration or whatever. I didn't think about it. I didn't choose it. I just knew the name of what I was feeling. Does that make sense? Does that match your experience? How did that happen, I wondered? Because again, now I was being the detective, or what I call the objective scientist. Where did the name come from, and how did it happen so fast? Again, I didn't think about it or consciously give it a name. It just happened, and somehow I knew the name. I'm repeating myself because this is very important. That is the second building block of what happens to you every day. The name of the emotion. Look at all these words we use for emotions. This is an emotions wheel that I found, and there's way too many of them to mention here, but I mean, look at some of these words that we use. Rejected, humiliated, insecure, anxious, scared, startled, confused, shocked, terrified, worried, overwhelmed, inferior, inadequate, alienated. On and on and on it goes. And this is only a small percentage of the words that we use to describe our emotions. We don't come out of the womb knowing the words for emotions. We have to learn them. Does that make sense? The next thing I noticed is right after the raw experience, the something moving inside was given a name, it was also given a positive, feel good, or negative, feel bad judgment, somehow. In other words, I immediately knew I was feeling bad when I was suffering. That's the third building block of what happens to you every day. Judgment, positive or negative as it relates to the emotions. How did that happen? I wondered again. I didn't think about it or consciously decide that I was feeling bad, that I was feeling like shit. It just happened somehow, and I knew I'm feeling bad now. We don't come out of the womb knowing which emotions are positive or negative either. We have to learn that too. So here's what happens all day, every day in your life. Something happens, and boom, pure raw experience starts moving inside you. Then boom, a name is added. And boom, a judgment is added. And all three building blocks fuse together like this. It's three separate things, but they all fuse together to become one new thing. I'm feeling whatever the name is, and it's this. That's what happens here. These three things fused together. And it happens so fast that we don't even notice it. Choosing the name and the judgment and fusing it together with the pure raw experience. That's the mysterious mental process I mentioned to you. And I call that mysterious process the mind machine. The name and the judgment are what I call mind stories. They come from the mind machine, and they are 100% man-made. They are 100% made up. Not real, not true, not accurate. 100% man-made and untrue. The pure raw experience, what's moving inside of you, that's real. That's true. But the name and the judgment are not. They're 100% man-made, made up, what I call lies, stories, and illusions. The so-called negative emotions feel bad in the way they seem to us because that's the story that the mind machine tells us. So I want to repeat this, but add one more piece for you so that the whole thing is really crystal clear. Something happens in your life, the trigger event. Pure raw experience of emotion starts to move. The mind machine looks at this, does its thing, runs its process, and comes up with a name that it then attaches to the pure raw experience. The mind machine continues to run its lightning fast autopilot process and then adds the positive or negative judgment to the experience. So now 3 separate things have been fused together to create something that appears to be new. And then it's like a magic wand was taken and poof, these 3 things combine. I used a magic wand because it really is kind of a magic trick, this whole thing. A mental illusion, sleight of hand in your mind. After this happens, the 3 components fuse together. We really think we're feeling anxiety, anger, fear, frustration, or whatever else it is. And we really think we're absolutely certain we're feeling bad. But we're not. The judgment story is not true. It's a big fat lie from the mind machine. The name story isn't true. It's a big fat lie made up by the mind machine. This is the only thing that's true. This is the only thing that's real. The pure, raw experience that's moving inside of you. And you can enjoy all your pure, raw, emotional experiences when the names and judgments aren't there. Here's the mind-blowing truth that I discovered. There's no such thing as anxiety, anger, fear, sadness, depression, or any of the other so-called negative emotions, except in a mind story created by the mind machine. There are no negative or feel bad emotions. They don't exist, except in a story told by the mind machine. Let me say that again, since it was a mind blower for me, and it might be a mind blower for you too in this moment, but that'll change soon. There's no such thing as anxiety, anger, fear, sadness, or depression, or any of the other so-called negative emotions, except in a mind story created by the mind machine. There are no negative or feel bad emotions, except in a story told by the mind machine. Does that seem hard to believe? Impossible? No, Robert. Anxiety's real. Fear's real. Depression and sadness and frustration are real, and they really do feel bad. I know it seems that way to you right now. And it did for me for a really long time. So if what I just said seems hard to believe or impossible, I totally understand if it does. But it's the truth, and the truth is the truth. And I'll show you how to prove the truth of it to yourself in a minute. But first, I need to ask you a question. What's happening in your life right now? Are you experiencing lots of up, down, gone unhappiness in your life with this illusion in place? Are you experiencing long-lasting unhappiness from one or more big triggers with this illusion in place? Are you experiencing self-doubt, lack of self-confidence, or self-esteem? All of that comes from the same big mind machine lies and illusions. Whatever has been happening in your life as this has been happening, do you want to continue living like that? Suffering on autopilot, being pushed around emotionally by events you can't control, or would you like to change things? Whatever it is for you, do you want to continue living like that, throwing gasoline on fires, trying to put them out? Or would you like to put the fires out for good? How much of a price have you been paying for these repeating patterns in your life that are coming from here in terms of struggle, suffering, pain, money, and energy, and the ripple effect of not being at your best when you're unhappy? On and on and on it goes. One day, when I was really unhappy, I went to see the movie Avatar again, the first one. As I watched the movie, I realized I was experiencing tons of emotions, including lots of fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, frustration, and even at times revulsion, disgust. But I realized, even though I felt tons of fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, frustration, and revulsion while watching the movie, I wasn't suffering at all. I didn't feel bad at all during the movie. I didn't complain or try to change how I was feeling. Not once. I actually loved all the feelings I had watching the movie. How do I know that? Because at the end of the movie, after feeling all those emotions, they all blended together, and I said, that was a great movie. And clearly millions of other people felt the same way, since Avatar is the biggest grossing movie of all time. You know how there are movies called horror movies, right? With horror movies, people feel fear and anxiety for 2 or more hours. People spend millions of dollars and hours of their time watching scary movies. They choose to do it. No one forces them. They spend money to do it. No one forces them. Why would they do that if fear and anxiety were really so negative and bad? So the final question that popped into my mind on my journey was, how the hell can I enjoy the same exact negative emotions in movies and other people that I suffer so much from in my own life? I noticed the same thing was happening when I read novels, which I love to do. I noticed the same thing was happening when I went on rides at amusement parks. It also happens when watching or playing sports. I noticed that too. Let's take a deeper dive into this. With a 2-hour movie, do you do this? Do you stop and say throughout the movie, I'm feeling happy right now, and I feel good. I'm feeling sad right now, and I feel bad. I'm feeling anxious right now, and I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling afraid right now. I'm feeling happy again. Do you do that in the 2-hour movie? No. Do you do that with sports, novels, and amusement park rides? Do you freeze your emotions, let's say, and then name and judge them? No, you don't do it there either. What do you do instead in all of these examples and others that we could talk about? You just feel. Up, down, gone, up, down, gone, up, down, gone. No names and no judgments appear with movies, novels, sports, and rides. Just feel the pure, raw experience. This isn't there. Just feel. And then at the end of those experiences, what do you say? That was a great movie. That was a great book. That was a great game or match. That was a great ride at the amusement park. Isn't that true? No names and judgments isn't a choice or a technique or something you do. It just happens naturally and automatically when you have those, let's call them entertainment experiences. Weird, right? I kept looking inside myself when I watched movies and sports and when I read novels, trying to understand how my experience of emotions could be so different. One day, the truth about that smacked me upside the head. Have you already seen the truth for yourself? Have you guessed? The reason there's no suffering with sports, novels, and rides is because the mind machine stays quiet. It doesn't add the name or judgment blocks. It stays quiet. So only one block is active in those entertainment experiences, the pure, raw experiences. The mind machine doesn't add the name and judgment blocks with movies, sports, novels, and rides, to repeat myself because it's so important. Wow! You know what else I want to say about the mind machine staying quiet? Sauce, baby. Sauce is my made-up word for super awesome, combining those two words together. So I thought to myself, if I can experience the so-called negative emotions, all of them, including the ones I struggled with most in my daily life, and actually enjoy them with movies, sports, novels, rides, and other experiences, there must be a way to have that same experience in my daily life too. Makes sense, right? But how can I make that happen, I wondered, and I didn't know the answer to that. Again, so close, yet so far away. That's when an amazing journey began for me that unfolded over a year and a half. A journey where what I call an inner teacher appeared to be my guide. A journey that included that inner teacher sharing additional insights and experiences with me about all of this and deeper. That journey ultimately ended with the mind machine being turned off with my emotions in my daily life, and the name and judgment blocks being removed in my life too, with all of my emotional experiences, permanently. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I now call the process of making that happen as a permanent shift the negativity antidote. On that journey, I didn't use any tools. I didn't use any techniques. No daily practices, no therapies, none of that to turn off the mind machine. I didn't follow a 7-step system. You're probably familiar with those kinds of things. I didn't have a to-do list. I didn't make it happen through effort, intention, or willpower. Those kinds of strategies, tools, techniques, repetitive practices, doing things, all of that, they might work for achieving other goals, but they won't work for changing the mind machine. That's not how it happens. It was the experiences I went through, guided by the inner teacher, that changed how my mind machine worked forever. I'm going to repeat that because it's so important. The experiences I had changed how the mind machine worked forever. It wasn't me or something that I did. That's how it happens. Through a specially designed set of experiences that you go through, which I'll tell you more about later. But for me now, for more than 10 years, I just feel in my life. I just feel always the pure, raw experience of emotions, no matter what. Names and judgments never appear at all for more than 10 years. I enjoy and appreciate all my emotions, the pure, raw experience, no matter how the pure, raw experience moves or how I would have once named and judged it. It doesn't matter what's happening in my life or the world. I call that profound state where you only experience the pure, raw experience of emotions, no names and judgments, all the time, no matter what, just like what happens with movies and TV shows and novels and rides and sports. I call that profound state true happiness. From my personal experience, and the shares of thousands of people all over the world, unhappiness is the biggest problem in life. Not money, relationships, career, body, or health that you may think are the biggest problems. Unhappiness is the biggest problem, to my bias. So when you solve the biggest problem in life, the unhappiness problem, it ripples out to change everything in your life, down to the smallest detail. I remember vividly how unhappy I was all the time before the big breakthrough. I can still remember the exact moment when my struggle, suffering, and pain vanished forever. It brought tears to my eyes. My hunch is the same experience would bring tears to your eyes too. I'm still amazed, over the moon, and grateful for that moment and the experiences that led to it. Truth is, no other form of success or achievement in life is worth much if you're miserable and you don't have, let's just call it, emotional health. After my big breakthrough, I made it my mission in life to share my discoveries and help other people experience the profound state of true happiness too, which is why I'm connecting with you here. Would you like to take a journey like I did? Would you like to take a journey that changes how your mind machine works through those experiences? Would you like to take a journey that leads to all the name and judgment blocks being removed from your life forever? Would you like to take a journey that leads to you being able to stay, let's call it joyful, resilient, centered, and at your peak potential, no matter what life throws at you? From what I've seen in my life and working with thousands of people all over the world, it's hard to take a journey like that by yourself. I didn't. I had help. I had a guide. There are too many traps on the journey and quicksand pits that you can get stuck in. I needed a guide. That was the secret sauce. I'd love to be your guide on the journey. As I took my journey, I took notes and I kept a detailed journal. I then spent 3 years testing and experimenting to refine an experience that could duplicate what happened to me so I could help other people have the same experience that I did. I eventually perfected that experience, and I call it the True Happiness Experience. Would you like to hear more about the True Happiness Experience and how it can help you? If you do, stick with me, and I'll share the details of what it is, how it works, and the unique way it was designed to help you. The True Happiness Experience is designed to rebuild and reprogram your mind machine so it no longer adds names and judgment stories to your pure, raw experiences. I want to invest some time here to make sure you're crystal clear about what the True Happiness Experience is all about, the unique way it works, and how you can expect your life to change after you complete it. Here's how I'd like you to look at the design and flow of the True Happiness Experience. It's very important for you to understand that the True Happiness Experience is a journey that you take, a set of specially designed experiences that you go through, experiences that are designed to change you as you go through them. I'll be guiding you through the same exact experiences I was taken through on my own journey into true happiness. That's the reason I call it the True Happiness Experience, not a course or a masterclass. There is information in it, but it's not about the information. It's about a process that makes a change, that transforms you permanently at a very deep level inside you. By the way, I'm not talking about hypnosis, NLP, affirmations, subliminal messaging, or anything else about the subconscious mind that you've probably heard of. I'm talking about a radically different process that was developed and then refined over 10 years as I worked with thousands of people worldwide. I feel very confident saying you've never been through anything like it before, unless you've attended my Ultimate Freedom experience. There are no tools or techniques or repetitive practices you need to use during the experience. There will be no to-do list, no tools, techniques, or repetitive practices you need to use after the experience. The design of this very unique experience is for the heavy lifting to be done for you as you go through the experience and through what ripples out naturally afterwards. That's the design. Does that sound hard to believe? That it could happen without you needing to work hard to make it happen? If it does, I understand. I wouldn't have believed it either if I hadn't experienced it myself and taken thousands of other people on the journey who got the same results I did. Think of the true happiness experience as if it were an update to your cell phone. When an update to your phone is ready, you do need to start it by clicking a button. But once you do that, you don't do anything but wait as the update starts downloading by itself. Then you do nothing but wait while the update installs automatically after the download is complete. After the installation of the update on your phone completes, the way your phone works changes. Problems get fixed and new things become possible. And your phone never goes back to the way it was. It's a permanent change. Imagine the same thing happens to you and your mind machine as you go through the true happiness experience. I call the download and installation process in the true happiness experience the negativity antidote. There are 18 plus specially designed video modules in the true happiness experience. As you go through the modules, more and more new software downloads. Some of the new software gets installed as you go through the experience. Some of the new software gets installed later. After the experience ends, new software continues to download. That's part of the design too. Installation continues after the experience ends, and you start noticing changes in your life after each piece of new software is fully installed, which is way cool as an experience, which I can verify from my own deep personal experience and from what thousands of people all over the world now have told me. The true happiness experience takes you on a journey that looks like this. I had this image specially designed for this purpose. So please put your focus on the far left of the image. You can see that there's a character there, but it's very dim and the background is dark. And that symbolizes what life is like when struggle, suffering, and pain, stress, negativity, unhappiness, or whatever are happening so much, which means what your life was like before you got here. Then to the right, you can see that a glowing portal opens. And that is symbolizing the true happiness experience. It is, in fact, opening a portal into a new way of life for you. And you can see that the character moves through it. And as the character moves through it, you can already see that it's getting brighter, which suggests the change that happens as you're going through the experience. Then the character's journey continues to the right, where you can see the orange character that's glowing, and you can see that the background is starting to get brighter and more clear. And that symbolizes more changes taking place as you continue your journey. And then when true happiness awakens, which is my language, and you're experiencing true happiness 24/7, no matter what's going on in your life or the world, that is symbolized by the glowing character celebrating victory and glowing quite brightly. So to me, this is a beautiful visual way of illustrating the journey that you can take with me. How will your life change after you complete the journey? Boy, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours about that, but let me share some of the highlights with you here. Once the mind machine has been completely reprogrammed and rebuilt, please hear me when I say that, there's no more need for any of the things you've been doing to deal with unhappiness. No more need to fight your so-called negative emotions, negative thoughts, negative sensations, or try to make them go away. There's no more need for tools, techniques, practices, or therapies to help you feel better. No more need to self-medicate if that's something you've been doing. Once the mind machine has been fully updated, imagine a life free from struggle, suffering, and pain. Imagine feeling true happiness all the time And I love this image for illustrating that because to me it just screams joy being experienced by that character. Imagine feeling true happiness all the time, no matter what's going on in your life or the world. Imagine a permanent end to guilt, shame, regrets, worry, and sadness. Imagine saying goodbye forever to fear, anger, depression, frustration, and anxiety. Imagine being emotionally bulletproof to life's inevitable chaos, uncertainty, twists and turns, ups and downs, and wrenches thrown into your best laid plans. Something like this. As you saw in that video from The Matrix, something that was once very dangerous to Neo, the main character you saw throughout the movie, suddenly wasn't dangerous anymore. The bullets fell to the floor, harmless, before even getting to him. The same kind of thing happens with the things that used to trigger negativity in you. But you won't need to say no or do something to disable the triggers. It will be natural and automatic. Not a perfect metaphor, that video clip, but a good and very visually powerful one. Imagine an inner space free of so much of the negative thought noise you've been accustomed to, and seeing that whatever thought noise still appears, which it will, if your journey is like mine, floats on by with zero negative impact on you. Why does that happen? Because the same mind-machine process I explained to you is the true cause of all struggle, suffering, and pain that comes from your thoughts too. And that cause can be removed the same way emotional pain is, as I'll show you in the True Happiness experience. Imagine never again getting caught up in a spiral of negativity. Imagine being able to embrace unwavering confidence and self-worth without relying on external validation. Why does that happen? Because the same mind-machine process I explained to you is the true cause of all self-confidence and self-esteem issues too. And that cause can be removed the same way emotional pain is, as I'll show you in the True Happiness experience. Imagine watching mind-machine changes rippling out to enhance your ability to hear, sense, and act on your intuition, which is a very powerful and important source of guidance in all aspects of your life. Why? Because when you're negative, the noise of the negativity often drowns out your intuitive messages, which can cause you to miss the nudges and important details being sent through your intuition. Imagine watching mind-machine changes rippling out to make dramatic improvements to your relationships, social connections, productivity, and performance, and open the door to improvements with your career and finances. Why? Because none of us are at our best when we're unhappy, stressed, and negative. And also because no one likes being around negative people, which affects our social connections. So when negativity vanishes and true happiness awakens, which is my language for what happens, it leads to huge improvements in your relationships, social connections, productivity, performance, career, and finances in all sorts of ways. Imagine stress-free decision-making, yet better decisions, no matter how complex or challenging the decisions might be. Imagine a completely different way to problem solve. Even with true happiness fully awake, there will still be problems that you need to solve in your life. That's just the way life is for all of us. But when you're experiencing true happiness, You're infinitely more empowered to find the best solutions and to move through things, no matter what life throws at you, including perhaps an enhanced ability to tap into your intuition. Finally, research shows that happier people tend to live longer and healthier lives. Why? Because happiness has numerous benefits for physical health, including lower rates of chronic diseases and better immune function. I'm a big Star Trek fan. I don't know if you are. I hope you are, because it's a great show to my bias. One of the episodes of the Strange New Worlds Star Trek show was titled, "Lift Us Up to Where Suffering Cannot Reach." And that's a great description of what happens to you once the mind machine has been updated. These are the primary benefits I received after taking the journey. Benefits I've been living and breathing consistently for more than 10 years at the time of this recording. These are the primary benefits thousands of others worldwide have received after taking the journey. You can receive all these benefits, and many more I haven't mentioned, after you complete the journey yourself. Does that sound hard to believe? Or impossible to you? Maybe, maybe not. Is it true anyway? Absolutely. And remember, you don't need to take my word for any of it. You'll be able to prove all of it to yourself, just like you've already proven parts of it to yourself during this masterclass. Let me share these results with you from other people who took the journey. I was suddenly awakened by the sound of gunfire and bombs. Apparently, war broke out in my region, and as I type this email, I'm surrounded by the sounds of gunshots and bombs and a car alarm going off whenever a bomb falls. I have zero fear, zero worries, zero concerns, and zero anxiety. This from Yazaid Ahmed from the Sudan. Now I feel safe. I have changed from feeling so much anxiety, alone, and many times like I wanted to be dead, to feeling cared for and optimistic, safe, happy, and free, which is what I was desperate for more than anything. This from Tricia Edwards in Australia. The way I was before, negative thoughts and feelings consumed my life. I was crying all day. I hated that I was having intense feelings of sadness and also anger that I couldn't seem to control. I wanted them to stop or go away. The only way was to avoid it all by sleeping, which I did for 20 hours a day. Now, everything is experienced so differently from before. I feel like a totally different person. I'm living a life that is free from the bondage of everything that made me so unhappy in the past. This from Nicole Lim in Singapore. Robert has a way of cutting through all the mumbo-jumbo and getting right at the heart of the matter. I've never known so much peace, joy, and freedom. It's truly been a blessing. This from Dan Burnham in the United States. I knew something changed inside of me. After some weeks passed, many things that used to bother, challenge, and frustrate me became uninteresting and unimportant. Thoughts and feelings are experienced in a completely new way. This from Artur Skotnik in Germany. If you're ready to let go of the stress, strain, overwhelm, worry, anxiety, and all the other limits to your joy and happiness that modern life seems to shackle us with, then take the opportunity to learn from Robert. This from Chris Atwood, a New York Times best-selling author from Germany. Hundreds of times my emotions got so bad I didn't want to go on living. I was desperate for relief. I used to spend pretty much all day, every day, trying to figure out solutions to make the pain stop. That doesn't happen anymore, and that change could be the most important thing that's ever happened in my life. This from Brent Linden in the United States. Over the past 10 or so years, I tried a lot of different methods and techniques to cope with my suffering. There was a long list of people that kept telling me I had to do or take this, or not do or take that, in order to get rid of the unwanted feelings that haunted me and made my life so miserable. The results from all of it were short-lived. Robert's teachings and experience gave me lasting inner peace. I will be forever grateful to Robert for this fantastic experience. This from Wiebke Panter in Germany. You can begin the journey and have the experience, the downloads, and the installations right here, right now. After you enroll, you'll get a username and password that give you access to our True Happiness Experience online portal. Inside the portal, you'll find 18 core video modules, plus 2 supplementary modules. As you go through the 18 core video modules, I'll guide you step by step on your journey into true happiness. I'll guide you through a unique process I refined over the last 10 years. A process I've now shared with thousands of people all over the world. As I shared before, that unique process was specially designed to download and install new software, you could say, into your mind machine. That unique process was specially designed to change your mind machine as you go through it, without you needing to use tools, techniques, or repetitive practices, without you needing to complete a long to-do list afterwards to get the big prize and result I call true happiness. As I shared, I call that process the negativity antidote. All you need to do is go through the 18 core modules, and I'll take care of giving you the negativity antidote. You just follow my lead and take the journey with me. I'll do all the heavy lifting for you. As you know, if you read my New York Times bestseller, Busting Loose from the Money Game, my term for the movement of money is expression of appreciation. The regular expression of appreciation for the True Happiness Experience will be $997 US. But now, for a limited time, as part of my pre-launch of the True Happiness Experience, it will be just one full expression of $797 US, a $200 savings, or 3 monthly expressions of $333 US. As you consider the expression of appreciation I just shared with you, keep in mind how much of your life you've spent experiencing suffering, struggle, and pain, whatever you want to call it. As you consider the expression of appreciation I just shared with you, keep in mind how much time, energy, and money you've been spending dealing with unhappiness, distracting yourself, self-medicating, trying to make the pain go away and feel better. Consider the price you've been paying beyond money for how unhappiness ripples out to cause problems in other aspects of your life. Once the mind machine has been completely reprogrammed and rebuilt, in addition to experiencing true happiness all the time, no matter what's happening in your life or the world, which is huge by itself, you get all that time and energy back to invest in other things. And you get all the money back that you used to spend fighting unhappiness by getting books and courses and tools and techniques and training and coaching and therapy and self-medication, whatever it's been for you. You get all that money back to use for other things. You might be quite surprised to see how much money you'll actually be saving. This quote from The Matrix says it all. I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. That's what Morpheus said to Neo. I'm trying to help liberate you from negativity and help you become emotionally bulletproof. But like Morpheus, I can only show you the door. You're the one who has to walk through it. Is it your time to walk through the door? Is it your time to begin the journey? Your time to awaken true happiness through a complete emotional reset. For the first time in your life, you now have a choice. Go right at the fork in the road of your life that you're at right now, and you will continue experiencing lots of struggle, suffering, and pain. And you know why, and you understand all of that now. Or you can go left, liberate yourself from negativity permanently, and awaken true happiness. I could give you more information at this point. I could share more success stories from people all over the world. I could answer a zillion questions you might have, but none of that will help you make this choice. You already have everything you need. So, how do you decide?
Use the Force, Luke. Use the Force, Luke.
If you're a Star Wars fan like I am, huge fan, you probably smiled or laughed at the clip I just showed you. But that is how I'm inviting you to make your choice. I'm inviting you to move the decision from your head to your heart, from logic, thinking, analysis, and maybe mind noise to feeling. If you feel the pull to do it, if you feel the tug to do it, then do it. That's my invitation to you, no matter what may be appearing in your thoughts. And if you don't feel the pull or the tug, don't do it. If you don't feel the pull or the tug to do it from here, it's not your path or it's not your time. Maybe it will be your time later. Moving the decision from your mind to your feelings will make your decision quick, simple, and easy. I promise you. If you have questions, contact us at support@robertscheinfeld.com, or you can go to my website, robertscheinfeld.com/contact, and fill out the form there. To begin your journey now and save $200,
This bar should have appeared at the bottom of your video screen. Click this button to get immediate access to the True Happiness experience.
that completes this masterclass and this part of our journey together. If you make the decision to begin the journey and join me, I'll look forward to working with you and helping you awaken true happiness as your consistent experience, no matter what's going on in your life or in global events. Again, to begin your journey now and save $200,
Click the Get Immediate Access button that you should see beneath this video screen.